Hi there, it's Tori and I will take you through the yoga practice today. This practice is going to be a yin practice, so it's a much slower practice. We have done yin before, so just a reminder that it is a practice that is getting deeper in towards the connective tissue. So it's getting deeper in towards the joints and it's finding more flexibility. So it is about getting kind of like more stretch in towards the body. But it's also about calming down the mind and calming down our nervous system. So it's quite good for our mental health as well as finding flexibility within the body. So like I've mentioned before, or if you've done the yin classes before, the poses are all floor-based. This one does have a couple of standing ones, but they are forward folds. So I will also give options. Come to wherever's deep or is comfortable for you in the practice. If you have any issues around muscles or joints, then pull yourself out, but be very careful about coming out slowly. We want to find the edge in the pose. We don't want to come too deeply and hurt ourselves. We want to let gravity just work into the body and let the body open up for us. So just coming to wherever's comfortable for you and just finding that space. Yoga practice is a journey. It's a longevity practice. It's about coming back to your mat regularly and finding that space within. So if you do that, it's that space that we're aiming for. It might take us a year, it might take us 2 years, it might take us 6 months just to reach our toes, but it doesn't matter. It's the journey we go on, it's the ability to observe ourselves and observe our practice and also be kind to ourselves. So just coming to wherever's comfortable for you. So this practice, I'd suggest using a yoga bolster, but if you don't have one at home, feel free to get a blanket and wrap it around some pillows, or use the cushions that you have on your sofa. Again, if you have a brick or a hardback book, or even an Amazon box or something that you're able to put a little bit of weight in. For this practice, it's more about kind of finding a little bit of weight into just placing the head on towards the brick or the box, whatever it is that you have. So you're just finding a little bit of ease. So again, it might be a can of baked beans or something that you have at home. So just be working with what you have. It's not an expensive practice, but it's just coming to wherever you are and whatever you have around you. So rather than going on anymore, let's come in towards the breath and then work in towards the practice. So as we start every practice, we come in towards our body and we come in towards our sitting bones. So just finding our breath. So for me, this practice, it's just about opening the seat and opening the sitting bones. So I'm grounding myself through my sitting bones on towards my bolster, and I have the legs flat down towards the ground. Again, if it's more comfortable for you to lean against the wall and have the legs out front, then that's totally fine. Or again, coming into cross-legged. Whatever's available to you. So we're going to take the hands down towards the knees or the thighs. Hands down, it just grounds and regulates our energy. So we're going to close down the eyes. And slowly we're just going to start to feel the breath come in and out of the body. So we're not changing the breath in any way. We're just starting to feel the body start to arrive onto the mat. So we're giving our physical self a moment to still, and we're also giving our mental self a little bit of time to still. If it's easy and it's available to you, then using the breath as well. All we're doing is just finding that space. Checking in with how we feel on a physical level as well as a mental and an emotional level. If we're busy and caught up with our work items, we can find that we hold that tension in our physical self. So maybe we use the breath this evening just to breathe in and out of the body, just to find a little bit of ease. Or maybe we did a workout yesterday or went for a run, and equally the physical self is holding tension. So wherever it is, we're going to take a couple of inhales. So we're going to breathe in deeply through the nose. We're going to open the mouth and we're just going to sigh it out. Taking another deep inhale, breathing deeply in through the nose. Opening the mouth and sighing it out. Taking another deep inhale, breathing deeply in through the nose. Open the mouth and sighing it out. One last deep inhale. Open the mouth and sighing it out. Perfect. Then just slowly coming into your own breath and into your own rhythm. Just using that breath to settle the sitting bones and to settle the body. And then slowly, when you're ready, we're just going to open up the eyes. Amazing. So we're going to come in towards our first pose. Our first pose is going to be our dangling pose. It's a deep forward fold. So just gently bringing ourselves up to our seat, up to standing. And then slowly, we're going to come in towards a forward fold. So it doesn't matter where you come to. If it's easier to come into a forward fold sitting down with the sitting bones towards the ground leaning forward, then feel free to. Otherwise, we're just going to gently roll through the body. So we want to hinge at the hips to make sure there's no issue in towards the lumbar spine. But at the same time, we want to kind of feel that openness through the vertebrae as we get there. So slowly, we're just going to take the chin towards the chest. We're going to let gravity work its magic. Maybe we may need to bend into the knees. And that's totally fine. And then slowly we come in towards our forward fold. So I'm standing next to my bolster, so I've got the option to place my bolster in front of me with my hands down towards the bolster. Or if you want to, feel free to take the bolster and your block or your book and just place that underneath your forehead. So you get in towards a release in towards the body. It might be that you want to come down deeply. Wherever it is that you come to, we're just looking for a release in towards the back of the body. We are looking for a stretch in towards the back of the legs. And we're going to hold here for about 3 to 4 minutes. So we want to find that edge into the pose. If possible, releasing, so palms face up towards the sky. The deepest variation of this is holding either elbow. And letting gravity just work its magic, feeling a release through the body. So for me, I can feel a stretch in towards the hamstrings, but I have a release in towards the back of the body. Totally doesn't matter where you are. If you want to, closing the eyes in this practice is lovely because you manage to shut off the body, shut off your systems, and the eyes are not stimulating the body in any way. It gives you a natural space to find a release. As mentioned at the beginning of class, we want to be looking for that edge, so we don't want to be coming too deeply into the pose to start with. We want to come into the pose somewhere that we can find ease, somewhere that we can find space into the body, but we also find that stretch. We want to keep stillness in the body as well, so if we can, keeping the body as still as possible. What this does is it allows the body or the nervous system to start to switch off. So where it's telling you the hamstrings or the back of the calves are tight, the body will hold for a period of time and then all of a sudden it will go a little bit deeper. It will find space.
We're looking for those moments where the body releases. It's called opening. I like to call it the aha moment, where it just kind of all of a sudden the body opens and you melt deeper. We're coming in towards the last minute of the pose. So just seeing if you can hold just for a little bit longer. And just noticing what the mind's telling you, whether it's getting easier, whether it's getting harder. And just wondering what the mind disappears onto, whether it's a physical thing or a mental thing or an emotional thing. There's no judgment. It doesn't matter where it goes. We're just noticing and observing. Perfect. We're just going to gently bend into the knees a little bit. We can take the hands down towards the ground or towards the bolster, wherever's comfortable for you. And we're going to use the hands to just leverage ourselves up a little bit higher. Slowly bring the hands towards the knees. And then gently just walking ourselves, bringing ourselves very slowly back up into standing. So when we come into standing, we find that space. We want to have that feeling as if we're folding or walking through treacle, so we're not finding big releases. We hold ourselves still in this rebound pose, and you can feel that energy running through the back of the body. It might be that you can feel compression that was around the stomach, around the belly, and just finding that openness. Maybe you can feel a little bit of kind of release in towards that space, and that's great. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for those kind of moments of not necessarily cramp, but those spaces that kind of like can fill the sensations. And once those sensations have disappeared, the body is just resetting itself back in towards a space. So just to release out of there after our rebound, we're going to come in towards a child's pose. So gently coming down towards the ground, we're going to take the knees out wide, and we're going to bring it into a supported child's pose. So where we were strong in towards the back of the hamstrings, we're now just going to come flat in towards our child's pose. So slowly we bring the toes together at the back of the mat, the knees out wide, and then we're just going to gently fold ourselves forward. So if you have a blanket or a pillow, just placing your head on towards that space, whichever way that you want to, and just making sure that you find the release. We're just looking to hold here for about a minute, just to find a little bit of kind of release in towards the back of the body. This pose is good for neutralizing the spine and just finding a little bit of ease in towards that lumbar spine if you found that forward fold quite difficult, or maybe there's kind of issues in towards that space. When I say issues, kind of like a sensation of not right, any kind of sharp or heated sensations when leaving the pose. So again, just relaxing in towards this space, although we're only here for a minute. It just allows the body to just gently release in towards our next pose. Perfect. We're just going to slowly just walk the hands back in towards us.
And we're going to gently just come in towards our feet, just stretching in towards the front of the feet. We're going to take the knees together and we're just going to gently take our weight in towards the back. So we're stretching out through the front of the feet. If it's too much, then feel free to just come into kneeling. Kneeling can equally, if you're not used to it, can stretch out through the front of the ankles. If you are used to it, then gently just coming, or your ankles are fine and there's no issue, then just gently lifting the knees up off the ground, and again we're just here for a minute. So we're just equaling out all the bones down towards the ground, and we're feeling a stretch through the muscles, through the ligaments at the front. Keeping that kind of space. If it's too much, the hands can come down behind you. We're just looking to feel that stretch into the front of the ankles. It can be nice when you're kind of seated or standing all day and we don't ever seem to work in towards other parts of the body. Got about half a minute left here. So just focusing in on that breath, feeling the body. Amazing. And then just gently, just placing the weight back in towards the front. We're just going to bring ourselves in towards our tabletop and just giving, maybe taking the toes down and just giving the legs a little bit of a sway from side to side, just to release those ankles. Amazing. We're going to come in towards a wide leg forward fold. So we have options. Taking ourselves down towards our bottom and then taking the legs out towards the front. So taking the feet out wide, toes point upwards. And just gently, just giving yourself maybe just a little bit of a sway from side to side. Any issues into the knees, feel free to take a bolster, a block, or maybe some rolled up blankets and just place them under the knees. It can give you a bit of support and open in towards the front of the legs. We're looking for a space in towards or a stretch in towards the inside of the thighs. So finding that space within, and then we're going to hold here for about 4 minutes. So we're just coming deeply in towards that forward fold. We want to find our sitting bones to make sure that we're not rolling on the back of our sitting bones. So maybe if you want to, just lifting yourself up, tucking our tailbone or our sitting bones towards the back. So we kind of get a little bit of a move towards the front of the pelvis. We take a lovely big inhale to lift ourselves up. And then on the exhale, we fold forward. So it doesn't matter where we come to. It might be that you're here with the hands down towards the ground, and that's totally fine. It might be that you want to go a little bit deeper, tucking the chin in, or maybe if you have a block, maybe placing your head onto a block or onto a can, a baked bean can, or whatever it is that we have. If you have the head rested, when we get into the pose, we just want to release the feet, so making sure that they're not active toes pointing up, and we're finding the release in towards the legs. Because remembering, we're not getting in towards the skeletal muscles or the big juicy muscles that we use during a workout. We're getting deep in towards the connective tissue. So just finding that space. Forehead down towards the brick if we need to. And again, just closing those eyes and just feeling whatever sensations come up for you in the body.
We're coming up to halfway in the pose. So if you want to go deeper, if you're finding that the body is opening up and you're getting a little bit deeper into the pose, then feel free to just release yourself a little bit further. This release for you might only be 1 millimeter, and that's totally fine. Like I say, the yoga practice is a journey. It's a self journey of going deeper in towards the body. So it takes time and takes practice for you to just find that space. It's the repetition and the commitment of coming back towards your mat, week in and week out. Coming in towards the last 30 seconds of the pose. Perfect. And slowly, wherever you are, we just bring ourselves back into seated. So if your head was forward, we just bring the head up as last. So we just let the spine naturally come back in towards its space. So wherever you are, doesn't matter if you've got marks on the forehead from the head relaxing, that's totally fine. So we're going to come in towards a twisted forward fold. So I'm going to come over towards the right. I'm going to keep the legs where they are, sitting bones down. And if you want to, taking a bolster over either lengthways or sideways, and it just enables you to just softly fold in towards that fold. So wherever you are, we just want to we want to square the shoulders towards the right, and then gently just releasing ourselves down. So again, what we're looking for here is to keep the sitting bones down towards the ground, and then we're looking to get that space through the side body and in towards the top of the pelvis. Doesn't matter how deep you come, doesn't matter how far you twist. We're all different. We all have different spaces within the body. So you can use your props to help, or however you want to come in towards your pose, and just finding that space. Looking for that moment for the body to open. And when it does, you just gently allow yourself just to melt down a little bit further, a little bit deeper in towards your space. So for this one, we're holding for 3 minutes. Maybe closing down the eyes and just feeling that space. So here we are coming in towards our last minute of the pose. We've got 15 seconds left into the pose. So gently we're just going to bring ourselves up. So again, similar to the forward fold, we use the hands and we just gently bring ourselves into seated, back into center. The eyes have been closed and just opening up and just giving yourself a moment just to feel that openness or the realignment into the hips. And then gently we're going to come over towards the other side. So just taking whatever form of prop you had just to help yourself ease into the pose and just bringing yourself over towards the other side. So just taking an inhale to lift yourself up. We square the shoulders towards the front left foot and then we gently just relieve ourselves down. So sitting bones down towards the ground. And we're feeling a stretch towards the outside of the hips on that right hand side. Again, doesn't matter where you want to place your arms, whether they're up on the bolster or whether they're down next to the feet. Just giving yourself the ability to not move as much as you need to if you're moving your prop to go deeper. Got the last 30 seconds into this pose. And then gently just releasing yourself. Slowly bring yourself back up into seated, whether that's walking the hands in. And we just bring ourselves back into center. So releasing ourselves back towards the front. And just seeing how the pelvis feels from left and right, whether there's any changes, any sensations through the back of the body. We're going to gently just release ourselves. We're going to come in towards our child's pose. So we're just going to come back in towards that supported child's pose. We're going to move slowly, taking the hands towards the back of the knees and then just gently bringing the feet in towards us. So just gently, as if we're moving through treacle, making sure there's no sudden movements and we're not making any issues in towards our joints or in towards our space.
Slowly we're going to take our bolster or pillows towards the front of us. And then again, just gently we're going to fold forward. So just taking, if you want to, maybe a bit further away, just to give yourself a bit of release in towards the chest. Hands can come towards the front or towards the back. So we've got that openness into the chest and in towards the stomach. Feeling that space in towards the body, taking a lovely big inhale. As you exhale, maybe you want to close the eyes and just feel the release in towards the body and into the spine. Amazing. Slowly we're just going to bring ourselves back in center and just bringing ourselves all the way up. We're going to come into a deep hip opener. So first of all, we're going to warm into the hips. We're going to come into our half frogs, and then we're going to come deep in towards our frogs, in towards our full frog. So our half frogs, we come down onto the ground. So we lower ourselves out, feet towards the back of the room. So we're coming to wherever's comfortable for you. And then gently we're going to take the left leg up towards the side of the room. So we're looking for a stretch towards the inside of the thigh. And then gently we release our forehead down towards the ground, or chin towards the fist, whatever's comfortable for you. If you want to go deeper, we gently just take the foot out towards the side. So we want to just feel that kind of openness in towards the inside of the hip. And we're aiming to have the foot down towards the ground as near as possible. And again, we're going to hold here for about 3 minutes. So just finding that comfort into the pose. Find that stillness. Any issues in towards the body, any pains, then obviously do pull yourself out. Or just pull yourself just a little bit slower. So to go deeper into this pose, you take the foot out towards the side. And knee has to be parallel with the hips. So if you want to go easier into the pose, you bring the foot in towards you and slowly take the knee further away, so down towards the bottom. So just being aware of those spaces you move in. These poses are lovely for when we're opening into the body, if we've been sitting at a desk all day. So being aware of what your body, the tension, the emotional tension, whatever it's holding from your work day. Coming into the last minute of the pose. Keeping that stillness. Amazing. So we're just going to slowly just release ourselves out of the pose. We take the knee down towards the back of the mat. Take the toes together, so we just find that release and just noticing any difference that we have from the left and the right. Seeing if there's any space in towards the glutes, in towards the pelvis. Feeling those sensations of change, where the rivers and the meridians start to kind of release in towards the body. And then slowly we're going to come in towards the other side. So we're just holding again here for the release. Just a couple more moments and then we'll move in towards the other side. Perfect. So gently we're just going to bring the right knee up so it's next to us. So knee comes parallel towards the hip. We're on the inside of that right foot and we're finding that openness in towards the hip. Doesn't matter where you come to. Finding that resting pose if you can and just releasing the body. So we're releasing any tension that we have. And as we release that tension, maybe you feel the body just go a little bit differently into that pose. Might be that you feel one side is tighter than the other. One side is a little bit more emotional than the other, and that's fine. The power of yin, or the power of this slow practice, is that we're able to stop and observe the body. We're able to really deeply feel those spaces inside us and just work our breath and work our mind to feel that practice. The more that we observe our body and ourselves, the more we're able to move into spaces. So we're coming in towards the last minute of the pose. And these are our half frogs, so we'll come in towards our full frog. So it's quite a strong practice, but only come to wherever's comfortable for you. Amazing. So slowly, whenever you're ready, we're just going to take that right knee so it comes down towards the back of the mat. Toes come down. And we just take a moment just to reassess those hips. Just feeling that space. If it's comfortable for you, maybe giving yourself just a very small wiggle from side to side to adjust the hips. But like I say, it's your body, it's your practice. We're looking for that space, that moment for release. And then we're looking for those sensations where the body starts to adjust and come back in towards itself. These rivers or lines of chi are just the energy that runs through the body. If there's any areas that you might feel that you're getting a little bit of space or a little bit of pins and needles or anything like that, then that's totally fine, as long as it's only for the longevity of the pose. If you feel that it stays after, then there's something that you've kind of held into and it's worth going to see someone, but that's very unusual to happen. Usually the sensations of the pins and needles sensation, it only happens while we're holding, and then as soon as you release, that kind of flush of blood comes back in towards the body and you get that release. So we're going to come in towards our full frog. So our full frog is technically both of our half frogs. So we take the knees out wide. So I'm going to come to face the front. So both of my knees are wide on the mat. So sometimes it's nice to come into here from a wide leg child's pose. Also making sure that you have something to place underneath the chest when you come forward, or maybe you want to place it under the hip so it's less at the back of the pelvis coming down towards the ground. So it's completely up to you as to where you're coming into. And so gently we're going to come in towards our tabletop, knees out wide, feet come out wide. We want to be on the inside of the feet. So again, we want the hips to be parallel towards the pelvis if we can. Otherwise, if that's too much, then that's not a problem. And we just take our hips back towards our heels, and that lessens the pose. So just coming to wherever's comfortable for you in your practice. So just gently, I like to just place the front of my body on towards like my lungs, my sternum and my neck on towards the bolster, or if I had some pillows. And all this does is allow us to just gently release in towards that without too much weight being in towards the hips. So for this pose, we're going to hold here for 4 minutes. So again, it's just deeply coming in towards the front of the hips. We want to find that edge, so we don't want to come too deeply into the pose first, but knowing that we can just gently, millimetre by millimetre, melt ourselves deeper and further into the pose. So really taking this time to close the eyes. And check in with how you're feeling, how the body's feeling. If anything's coming up emotionally or physically. And using that breath just to release in towards that space. As it is a slow practice, reminding yourself that it's nice to close the eyes and just finding a little bit of inward space rather than being visually stimulated. To remind yourself when you're at home, it's easy to get lost in our to-do list. So we're coming into the last minute of the pose. So this one can be quite strong, quite deep, so just being aware of that space. Amazing. So slowly we're just going to pull ourselves out. So wherever you are, just using the hands to gently bring ourselves up off the bolster. We bring the toes together and we just gently place the weight towards the back. So we can just gently move the legs, just slowly bring them back in towards us. We just gently, bit by bit, bring the knees in. Just come into a gentle kneeling. So we just feel that kind of space in towards the side of the hips, deep in towards the inside. Again, we're using that breath and we're just finding that space just to settle ourselves down, just to feel those sensations, those rivers of chi, the meridian lines really kind of becoming activated and then releasing. Perfect. And then gently we're going to come in towards the next pose. The next pose is going to be our saddle pose. So we're going to come down on towards one leg. So it might be that it's too strong for you. So we have options. So we're going to take, our options are, if you want to, we're going to take our leg out towards the front. So it might be that you want to sit up onto the bolster or onto your pillows to give yourself quite a lot of height, so we're stretching in towards the quad muscle. So gently we want to pull ourselves in towards a space where we find that stretch. It might be that you want to place yourself onto a block which is a little bit lower. Again, that kind of space, or maybe you want to just move the calf muscle just out of the way and have the right leg forward. Otherwise, if you're coming into the full expression of the pose, we take the sitting bones down, we take the left hand and we remove that calf muscle and we take the right foot out towards the front. So again, we find that space, we find that kind of release in towards our leg. We lift the hips up, we tilt the pelvis, and then we come back, lying down onto our backs. We come in towards the full expression. So doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you're on the bolster, doesn't matter if you're on the brick. We're looking for a stretch or release in towards the quad muscle. So we're all different, we've all got different spaces, we've all worked through different things, we have different items in the day. So everything changes in our body. Every breath changes our body. Everything we eat changes our bodies, so we need to be aware, we need to honour these spaces. So if we practice the same practice today and we practice it tomorrow, we might feel more open, or that might actually be that we feel slightly more impinged for whatever reason it is. Like I say, what we've eaten, what we've done, where we've been, how long we've walked, whether we've sat in the car driving. There's all these different changes that can affect our body and affect our practice. So we're coming into halfway of the pose, so just using that breath.
And we're coming in towards the final minute of the pose, so just feeling that relax through the body. We've got 10 seconds left into the pose, so just breathing into that space. Feeling that release, that openness into the body and respecting that space. Amazing. So to come out of the pose, if you're on your back, just taking your elbows next to you, putting the weight into the elbows and then gently using yourself to come up. We place the weight in towards the right side and just gently releasing out through that knee, so we find that release. Maybe you want to keep the knee bent for a little bit, maybe you want to sit, maybe there's sensations in towards the lumbar spine. Whatever it is that you're feeling, just honor that, honor your body and honor your space. Perfect. And then coming in towards the other side. Again, if you're on your bolster, just placing the weight into your left side. Again, if you're onto the brick, then that's totally fine. It might be that you feel that you can go deeper into one side than the other. And so you find that medium, you find that space where on one side you're happy to be, and on the other side you might find that you want to be propped up high with the hips. Wherever you are, just lifting the hips slightly, tucking the tailbone under. So we find the length in towards the front of the quad first, and then gently we release ourselves down onto our backs. So we find that space. Find that kind of comfortable space in towards the body. And if it's available for you, taking the hands up and over the head or keeping them down next to you. So wherever's comfortable for you. If you have the arms over the head, you're working towards the lats and towards the sides of the body. Or if you just keep the arms next to you, just find that release. I can feel with my right side, my knee wants to go out towards the side more than it does towards the inside. And that's totally fine. It's just the way in which my muscles are reacting today to this pose. And that's totally fine. So again, we're going to hold here for about 3 minutes. Just breathing into that space, breathing into the body, and just finding that release. Remembering that we want to be near our edge, but we don't want to go any deeper than our edge. So anywhere that you feel that you might, any kind of bubbling or kind of like stretching or heat feeling, or pins and, not pins and needles, but like a sharp striking pain, anything like that, just pull yourself gradually out of the pose. Another way to make the pose a little intense is just to lift the other leg up towards the sky as it neutralizes the pelvis. We're about halfway into the pose, so just closing the eyes, breathing into those sensations and feeling that release.
Got about 30 seconds left into the pose. Just really breathing. I know this one's a strong one. So just finding that release into the body. Amazing. So coming up out of the pose, elbows come down and we just gently bring ourselves up. Maybe you want to come bit by bit, and that's totally fine. We lift ourselves up, weight comes in towards the left leg, and we gently release that right leg forward. Maybe you want to just bend that knee for a little bit as we feel that stretch over the kneecap release. And then gently we release the leg down towards the ground. Perfect. So just feeling that release in towards the body, into the space. If you want to, bending into the knees and just gently taking opposite knee towards the ground next to the opposite foot. So just finding a release through the body and through the pelvis. Just a gentle release, gentle sway from side to side. Amazing. So we're going to come in towards our last pose, our Savasana. So coming down onto our backs when you're ready. If you want to, bring the knees into the chest and just swaying yourself gently from side to side, just to feel a little bit of sway into the body, in towards the pelvis. And then gently, when you're ready, we take the legs out towards the top corners of the mat. Hands come wide and we find our Savasana, our final resting pose. We close down the eyes and we feel the release into the body. Any issues in towards the lumbar spine, we bring the knees up and we knock the knees in towards each other. There might be a bit of pain today or a little bit of uncomfort in that space due to the amount of deep stretches that we've been doing in towards the pelvis. So just coming to wherever's comfortable for you. So as we're in our Savasana at home, feel free to stay on your mat and just let your body release in towards the ground. Otherwise, we're going to start to wiggle the hands and the toes, just giving a release into the body, waking it up slowly. Taking the arms over the head for a full body stretch. We bring the knees into the chest for a lovely big hug. And then we gently just take ourselves over to the left or the right hand side, whichever's available to you. We ground down with the top hand And we slowly bring ourselves in towards a comfortable seated position. So wherever cross-legged or kneeling, we keep the eyes closed. Just finding that settling into the sitting bones, taking a lovely big inhale. And exhale. Hands into prayer in front of the heart. May the light in me honour the light in you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for that yin practice. I hope you enjoyed it. We went quite deep in towards those hips, so sit with whichever emotions came up. Take a big glass of water and just let those emotions settle into the body. Any comments or any questions, drop it in towards the comment box, but otherwise I hope that you have a lovely day. Thank you.